Welcome to From God's Heart to Mine. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining me as we aim to draw nearer to God every day. Transitions can be difficult to navigate. Maybe it's a transition in your job, your place of employment, or the position you have in your place of employment. Maybe it's a transition from high school to college or from college to a career. Maybe it's a transition in your family from single to married to having children. Maybe we think about transitions in the church, like the changing of a preacher or a change in the eldership, or over a period of time, maybe a large change in the demographics of a congregation. Whatever it is, transitions can be very difficult to navigate. Today we're thinking about Joshua 1 and verse 2. Joshua 1 verse 2, God is speaking to Joshua after the death of Moses, and God says to him, "Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel." It was a period of transition for Joshua and the Israelites. They had a change in leadership, as Moses was now dead and Joshua was the leader. They were about to change in location, as they left the wilderness they had been wandering for 40 years and were going to enter the promised land. They were having a transition in their task and what they were doing. They'd been wandering through the wilderness pretty aimlessly for 40 years as that first rebellious generation was dying off. But now they're going to be warriors and conquerors in the promised land and then settled in a land God had promised their ancestors to give to them. It was a period of transition, and it could have been very difficult. But let's note from Joshua 1 and verse 2 how we should navigate transitions. The first thing is that we should keep doing things for the Lord. Transitions can sometimes lead to a standstill because things are different and no one really knows what it's going to be like and what the new status quo is. Sometimes the work stops and people end up doing nothing. Well, that's never the right answer. God says, "Now therefore, arise, get up." There's something that needs to be done. When we navigate transitions, we should keep doing the work that God has called us to do. Second, we need to keep our eyes forward. It's easy in transitions to look back at the way things were and maybe long for the good old days or wish things hadn't changed or still try to hold on to some of the traditions of the previous institution or the previous way things were. God says, "Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan." You need to look forward. The promised land lies ahead of you, God says, and that's where your focus needs to be. The third thing is that we should stick together. God says, "Go over this Jordan, you and all this people." Joshua, yes, this is a period of transition, but you're not going to go alone. You and all this people will go together. Transitions can easily cause divisions. People might have disagreements over how things should progress or what the transition should end up looking like. It's vitally important that as God's people, we stay united and committed to our brethren in times of transition. The fourth thing is that we should always trust God's promises. God says, "Go to the land which I am giving to them." God had promised them this land, and their success was guaranteed if they followed him. No matter what transitions look like, God's promises remain the same. And if we will trust in the Lord, he will guide us through those periods of transition. And the final thing from this verse is that we should never forget who we are. Transitions can cause us to lose a sense of identity if we were overly attached to the way things were done before. This verse closes by reminding the people of who they are, the children of Israel, the heirs of the promises, God's chosen covenant people. If we'll keep a close hold on our own sense of identity as God's people, I think we can navigate times of transition successfully. When you pray today, if you might be going through a transition, look to God for wisdom and guidance, keeping your eyes forward and your heart close to Him while you move on to greater things. Thanks for listening to From God's Heart to Mine. Follow the podcast if you want to hear a new devotional thought every weekday. My name is Caleb Griffith. You can reach out to me on any platform, and I'll include you in my prayers today. Open your heart today to pursue God's heart and try to show His heart to others.